So what we're doing today is I'm going to enhance my factory security system on this Ford F-150, which comes with this factory keyless entry and remote start. There's a start. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make it so that way this vehicle has an add-on layer. So now what it's going to do is not only just lock and unlock the doors and start, it's also going to give you a second layer of protection, so that way if the door is opened, it's going to give you a full trigger with the horn plus the siren. That's my goal. I'm also going to put in this motion/radar sensor because this vehicle has a rear sliding window. It also has a cab in the back, of course, a pickup truck, so I want to protect that as well. Little be known, most people think when they have to get an alarm system that they have to lose this, they have to get new key remote controls to operate, or you have to have multiple keys. That's not necessarily the case. Most vehicles, of course, have these, so a simple, easy, effective way to add an alarm system is just to get an add-on remote start. The way this thing works is a little black module, and all it does is it senses the lock and unlock wires in the vehicle, so when it sees a lock pulse, it'll actually learn the polarity, arm, unlock, and disarm, and also has expandable options to add if you want to have two-way communication to know if your vehicle was tampered with. If you want to have extended range, if you want to incorporate that to add on or slave remote start that you have, whether it be factory or aftermarket, of course permitting on the vehicle and the application. So you can do that, add others, features, optional channels if you want to do rear window defroster, if you want to have window roll downs, window roll ups. I mean, the options are literally infinite what you can do with these systems. I'm just going to make it a simple add-on and get a radar sensor because I really like those. I like to have a sensor that protects my vehicle before something happens rather than after the fact. So these radar sensors pick up motion before the bad guy comes up to my truck. That's what I want. And if I wanted to, like I said, if you got the optional two-way upgrade, either on an LED or an LCD remote control or a smartphone, I mean, there's so much stuff that you can do these days. We could just talk about that for a whole video. But let me just cut it off there. I'm going to get into my body control module, which is located in this vehicle down in my passenger kick panel. That's where the predominant amount of my wiring is going to be located. So I'm going to remove this for accessibility, and so you all can see a little bit better, and it gives me a little bit more breathing space to do my wiring. So getting started, I've already went ahead and I've printed off my cheat sheet for all my wires that I'm going to need in this installation. It's basically just power accessory, door triggers, hood pin, parking lamps, lock and unlock, input pulses from the BCM to activate my add-on remote start, and my horn. That's basically it. Everything else is plug in. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to prep wire all my connections on my module, then I'll start with the installation. Now on my arm and disarm wires, I'm going to use what's most popular type. It's a type 5 connection, which is where you grab the driver door motors, and they rest basically at ground, and they switch to 12 volts, and you have the second disarm wire, which is there because when you hit lock the first time, the old lock, when you hit unlock the first time, the first unlock pulse, the driver door unlocks, you hit again, all the other doors unlock. Now why that's important is because if you wire it up and you just had the second wire grounded permanently, and someone had come up to the truck, the alarm was armed, reached through and hit unlock, the factory alarm would disarm. when there's a difference when you wire it up properly. If you have the second disarm to the second stage motor unlock wire in the vehicle, that wire would stay positive and it would never allow that to occur, which is the right way to install it. So that's the way I'm going to do it, and I suggest you do the same. But if you're not, totally hardcore, it's okay. It's permissible. I suppose it's your vehicle. You can do whatever you want, but it's my job to just let you know that there is a difference. So at this point, I have removed all the wiring that I'm not going to use. So what I have here is my ground, my constant 12 volts, my ignition. Over here I have my pink, which is actually the pink we're not going to use. We're not going to use, that's a third channel output. That's not going to be of any value to me. Over here is my pin sense. Since my vehicle has normally closed door triggers, I'm not sure how this is going to work out, so we'll leave that open till later. This kit actually gives you a raw wire with a pin that you can insert into the appropriate position, so we'll go over that later. Then blue here, that's my hood. Brown is my siren output. White is my parking light output. And this here is for dome light supervision. I don't need because the vehicle always comes factory equipped with that, so it saves you a lot of wiring. See how much you really actually wind up with? It's not much. Not much at all. And on this side I have my lock, unlock input, and my second disarm wire to activate my alarm. That's it. Aside from that, it's just bonus stuff like I'm going to use my sensors, etc. I also just wanted to make a quick mention about some of this other stuff. It's accessory plugs that you see I'm not using. Over here, this would be, if I was going to use the external antenna, this would be a standard one-way, like 1 or a 4-button remote control, which is RF based. But you can also use the echo port in here, and you can use a 2-way LED or an LCD type of remote control. Here is the LED, so if you wanted to use this and install it in your dash so you have an LED indicator, this is what you would use for that, but I'm not going to use that as well. And then over here I have expansion ports. One for my shock sensor, door locks, which you're not going to use, and this here is just an optional port which we're not using for any other upgrades. So this is really all there is to it. So I'm just going to clean this up, then I'm going to start removing these panels so I can start actually doing the install. So here's your PCM. This is where I'm going to do all my connections basically. Almost all of them anyway. So you get your fuse panel, and up in here, all the magic happens. So for my installation, what I use on a daily purpose is a Matco power probe, which tells me the resting voltage of a circuit, and I can actually put power or ground into any wire that I choose using this little wonder. But you, of course, can use a standard test light, a multimeter. It's up to you. I don't play favorites. That's another video altogether. So I'm just going to start off here, and I'm going to start looking for my wires. This is where these cheat sheets actually do help a lot. So your constant 12 volts is red, and my ignition, so I'm going to go grab those two first. Now also, I forgot to mention this. I don't know what kind of brand system you're going to be installing on your own car. However, this one here requires that you have the door lock plug unplugged prior to powering up the system, because it will learn the voltage, how it rests, so that way it'll know if the wire rests low at ground that it's going to expect to see 12 volts to energize or de-energize, arm or disarm your alarm system. So keep that in mind. It does pay sometimes to read the instructions, because it can save you some grief in-house sometimes. So let's get to work here. You'll notice that I'm doing this the slow way. You don't want to just take a razor knife and just go buck wild on these harnesses. It's never a good idea. Take your time. Do it the right way. Don't rush. You will regret it. if you screw up. And I know I might go a little bit fast, but also understand that I've been doing this for, you know, how long. So this will help me out in isolating and finding my colors. So I'm looking for my constant right now, which is my white red. I'm going to guess it's going to be a thick one. There you go. Sometimes you can find multiple wires which do the same function. I mean, if you're inexperienced, and I suggest you go for it, you know, verbatim. However, if you have some experience under your belt, you can be a little flexible with that. Another good idea is also have a plan of where you're going to actually mount your unit, so that way you're not like, after the fact. For me, that works really well. So you can actually just go ahead and leave it there if you really wanted to. Just have your cables run out. Then after the fact, you can go back and tape it all up and disguise everything real nice. But for now, just make sure you don't have a bunch of extra wires all over the place, because nobody likes that. I can't stand when people work like that. And yes, this is the preferred way that I've always done my connections. I think you call it a fisherman's knot connection, where you poke a hole, you stick it through and close it up, and then you wrap it and insulate it. It's the way I was taught from way back when, and it's been some of the greatest information I've ever used. I've never seen one really fall apart. But you got to find what's right for you. So this is just an illustration. You can do whatever you want to do yourself. So I got my white with an orange. The same as where it is over there. Let's see what else we can do. Located a good ignition wire here. Go ahead and connect onto that guy. My next connection I'm going to do here is going to be my grounds. Rule of thumb on your grounds, you want to keep it as short as possible. You don't want to increase any resistance onto the lead if at all possible. And whenever possible, this vehicle has a nice strong ground right here in the kick panel. So I'm just going to tie into one of these grounds. because you can almost never beat a factory ground. Doesn't matter which one you get, whichever one's easier for you, really. And try to be as, thoughtful as you can when you're making your wire connections. You don't want to have things overlapping and kind of like all over the place, this way, that way. If you can at all hide everything and be inconspicuous, that's the best way to always do wiring. And if you ever watch some of my other videos, you'll see just how anal I am when it comes to wiring. I don't really think you get much more anal than me. This guy is really anal. Okay, so that. Then we're going to put it back the way we found it when we're done. That's the way we do things around here. This is where the siren wound up mounting. Basically, it's going straight down towards the floor so we could get as much noise as possible out of this siren. That's the way you want it to do. You always want the siren pointing down so that way it doesn't hold any moisture or any water, which will definitely shorten the life of your siren. Now, unfortunately, I could not go into all the connections that I had to make up in here in the BCM. Unfortunately, they're all way up in there, and there's 3 tiny little plugs, and they're basically gives me about 3/4 of an inch to make my connections behind the glove box and where they come out of the harness. So I just wanted to show you, this is what the final product looks like. Hopefully yours looks something like this. And I got plenty of slack, so I can take this and I'm going to put it and hide it way up in there. Put 2 zip ties and just leave it mounted up there, kind of like a control module you'd find here in a factory application. So now I've got this system hooked up on top of my factory security. Now, here's some other good ideas that you could use when you're adding these upgrade alarm systems to your factory stuff. You could do stuff like last door arming. So that way when you get out and you close your door, it senses the key off, the door open, the door closed, it will arm by itself. And in this case, I actually also enabled auto locking. And here's why. I don't normally like it, but this vehicle has keyless entry right there. So you can just hit the code if you're locked out. So I went ahead and took advantage of that. I also have carjacking, so that way when I get in, close the door, turn ignition on, the doors will lock so I can drive safely, and they unlock when I turn my ignition off. I can control my confirmation chirps, the length, the duration, also my custom override for the valet mode, carjacking, and I have a starter disable on top of my factory, so it actually will also give me an insurance discount when I give it to the receipt to my insurance, because I'm actually going to bill them for the work that I did for my own self. So actually I got a free alarm, plus I'm going to get a free insurance discount. Not a bad deal, right? So these alarms are looking better and better all the time. And instead of just having the factory security system, now you can get up there, shock sensor, or if you just want to try to sneak up on me real ninja-like in the middle of the night. See that? Or, say, even if my kids just want to be crazy and jump into bed up and down, I'm going to catch them too. And if I ever wanted to in the future, I can upgrade to a 2-way and get confirmation, know what's going on in my truck no matter where I am. So, lots of benefits. So, if you don't have to always get another remote, you can do a simple add-on factory alarms enhancement like I did right here today. They're pretty quick, pretty easy, very straightforward, no new learning curve. You just use the remote like you always have.